Hello and welcome to the Comedy's Best Kept Secret Tour podcast. I'm here with Noko Moswete. I'm saying all these things right. I'm trying my best to figure out how to pronounce everything in South Africa. I can't say easy things like biltong. I can't say biltong correctly.
Yeah, but although the T, you can say biltong, not
Yeah.
biltong.
Yeah, but it just sounds better when you say it.
Biltong. Biltong. It's not biltong. It sounds like, it's hard for you to chew.
Yeah. Well, that's what ours is. So biltong. Biltong
Yay.
is basically like delicious beef jerky, and it's pretty specific to South Africa. It's part of the culture. Um, like it's on every sort of corner spot, and it's delicious. Well, thank you for coming on and doing this, and thank you for having me in. Where are we? Tell everybody where we're at.
Meropa Casino.
We're at Meropa Casino
Mm-hmm.
in the Limpopo province
Yes.
of
In
South
Polokwane.
Africa in
Polokwane.
Polokwane.
Yebo.
And last night's show was fun. It was a really fun show.
Yeah, it was. But, at first I was worried because it looked like the attendance was going to be.
Yeah.
But by the time we started, people were getting in, and by the end of the show, we had a really full house.
Yeah, you really had them going. It was interesting because there was that moment when we first walked in where I think there was only like five or six people.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of like went off to the side, ordered a drink, ordered some food, and then right before we started the show, I looked over and for some reason there was like 30 or 40 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
It like happened so fast. And we started like an hour late, and somehow people were still arriving.
I think it's because people here know that comedy starts really late.
Yeah.
Remember, I was telling you yesterday morning when you wanted to be at the Gauteng station by 1 o'clock, and I was like, no.
Well, here's the thing. We never met.
Yep, we never met.
And so I didn't know. Well, I didn't know anything. We had just communicated on
Facebook and
on WhatsApp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started to get worried because I didn't have any information. I didn't ask enough questions probably. But yesterday,
You thought maybe I was pranking you.
I to be in another country, to not have all of the tools that you need, to not have really a phone and all these sorts of things, it's like very stressful.
I'm sure it is.
To have to figure out, okay, now I got to get to Pretoria Station, and so we changed the details a couple times. And I was freaking out. But you said it. We were like an hour into the car ride, and you were like, "Artists are weird people, man."
You know what? We are weird. We are brave. We are stupid.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we could have raped you.
yeah, for sure. And that would be a fun story to tell people. It's like, listen, South Africa was cool like the first 4 days, and then they were like, we're doing this gig, and they just took me to nowhere,
And they raped
and they
me
took all of my clothes.
one by one.
So I knew, but so you go, artists are weird people, and I knew exactly what you were saying. Because if I told my family, if I told my friends that weren't comedians that I just agreed to this thing with no information, no familiarity, that I'm just getting in a car with people and driving 5 hours, they'd be like, yeah, don't do that.
You don't know these people.
You don't know them.
You don't know where you are going.
You have no idea what you're doing. Where's the show? I have no idea. Mom, just leave me alone. It's going to be fine.
Who are you going with? I have no idea.
No idea.
Do you trust them?
I don't know. I have no
idea.
I have no reason to trust or not trust these people.
Yeah, well,
But it worked out.
it did.
It was great.
Beautifully so.
And so far, everything that you guys stand for, I was for, because we had to make a couple changes when we got here, and all the things that you guys changed to make the show and the arrangements and the situation better, I totally was on board for. So, you guys are class A in my book all the way.
Thank you so much.
Because sometimes you do. You work with performers, and they get there, and I'm somebody who will get there, and I'll ask the venue to move chairs and tables, and then sometimes you work with other comedians, and they're like, it's fine, we'll figure it out. But people will be sitting like way in the back. But no, Jazz got on. He's like, guys, you got to move forward, or we're not going to start the show. So everything you guys did was great.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me on this thing. So I'm trying to think what's the next question I ask you, because it seems like everywhere we go, people know who you are.
Me?
You.
Really?
Yes.
So I'm famous?
I think so. I think so, but I don't have enough information because I'm in my little bubble.
Okay.
Whether it's my American bubble or it's my comedy, whatever it is. But you've told several stories where you're just somewhere and people know who you are, and that gave you an advantage.
Yes. Like, I have this sister. She's 3 years younger than me, and she also wears spectacles. And people say we look identical, but I don't think so. So this one time, she almost got a traffic fine, a ticket. But those police officers thought she was me.
And so they were like, no, it's fine. That's great.
And this one time, she jumped the queue. Somebody just said, "Oh, you come to the front," because they thought she's me.
Yeah. Wait. So I like that you're well. So that's the level of fame where other people that look like you are now getting the benefits. But are you getting the same benefits?
I am. I don't know, but I would like to believe that if I was in this situation, I would have gotten the same benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they can just decide that, oh, she looks like Nugu, let's give her, a free voucher.
Yeah.
But no, we're not gonna give her. We don't give Nugu. We give somebody who looks like her.
Yeah, we only give it I like that. That's funny. So what else? So this, I mean, it seems like you have the whole of South Africa kind of figured out comedy wise, and there's a lot of great comedy happening here. I mean, even on this trip, people that I've met have like basically become famous. We just saw this guy that got the show this morning. So it's like this is like a really ripe and beautiful time to be doing comedy in South Africa.
It is.
And like while you're in it, like, do you feel that as an insider?
No, like I don't feel anything. I seriously don't feel anything. Maybe because I'm not rich yet.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start feeling like I'm a famous comedian once I start making.
Once they actually give you the money for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, fame without money is nothing.
Yeah. It is interesting because comedy is one of the only things where you can be super recognizable, and this is worldwide, and still people will think everything's great, and still kind of nothing's happening, like money-wise, and
that's why people get surprised when they say a comedian has committed suicide.
Oh, yeah, no, and then all comedians are like, yeah, we understand.
We know. We've tried that.
Well, the other thing I think, and then this came up in a different conversation somewhere on the podcast. So just for the listeners, there is this thing where as a comedian, there's no better feeling than being on stage.
Yes.
There's nothing that will ever compare to getting those laughs. So then whenever you're not on stage, it's just it's an abyss.
You think of getting on stage.
Right. And so when you don't, so then as soon as you get off stage, some people find that they're like, well, there's nothing that's as high as being on stage, so I got to find it. So they try heroin. They get involved in all these other things, trying to chase
Heroin.
what it is to be on stage.
How do you afford drugs when you're seriously?
Well, that's what I find, and even on a level that nobody knows who I am, but there is a level that when you have a good show, people in the crowd want to give you drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
Drugs?
They want to give you
In
not
America?
heroin. I mean, nobody's ever offered. Maybe I have been offered heroin, but not specifically heroin. But to understand this
They say,
idea.
oh my God, you're so funny. Here's cocaine.
Yes, for
Really?
sure. People. And then especially for me, because people think it was
You
funny
take drugs.
because Jazz was making fun of me last night was because I was talking too fast. And I'm an outsider, and I have, so I speak differently. And he was just like,
But
this
you-
guy's crazy.
You do look like a junkie.
So I have been accused of doing cocaine multiple times, which I don't do. This is me normal.
And when you're high?
Well, I've never done cocaine, so it's like you don't look at me and then go, you should give that guy more drugs. That's what I love about comedians is that they go no, because I was doing a thing with Jason Goliath and I was talking about how I don't find it appropriate to like have sex with the audience, and then Jason was like, no, he has sex with all of the audiences. It's great.
I'm sorry, like you But who do you have sex with?
No, it's a separate topic. Yeah, but I do you wait. So wait.
If we don't have sex with the audience, who are we supposed to have sex with? The animals.
Well, no, I like to make it a rule that if they saw me on stage, it's not fair if they saw me on stage because they're creating this connection that I'm not a part of, right? So in their
Oh, but I
mind,
know
they're
what you
think
mean.
now. Comedians will use the going on stage part as
As an
as a
advantage.
finisher, right?
Fishing rod.
But you meet somebody first, hopefully, somewhere else in the world, and then
Mhm.
you bring them to the show, and then they go, "Oh, this guy's good at something,"
Oh yes,
and
but I
then you
know
have the
what you are
sex.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
But if they
as
were
long
in
as
the,
you have the sex at the end, whether
you
you
still have
meet
to have the
before
sex.
or after
Yeah,
performing in the audience, the bottom line is the sex shall be had.
you still have to have the sex. Yeah. No, but initially it's like if because I've seen it, and then when comedians get good, it's like it's an easy thing. You can just pluck someone from the audience, and But I just think I think it's
It's
cheating.
bullying.
I think it's cheating.
It's cheating and it's bullying because people, when you're on stage, people cannot see the real you.
Right.
They think you are this person who's always making people happy,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's always making people laugh,
Yeah.
until they see that you get angry.
Yeah.
And when you're on stage, everyone seems to think that you are this perfect human being.
Yeah.
You are rich, you are kind, you are powerful.
Yeah.
You know, you can go to a very rich man and make a joke.
And equalize everything.
Exactly. So they think, oh wow, she's a superhuman being.
Yeah.
Until they get to your flat and you didn't make the bed.
And
And
you're
then
just
oh
like,
my
hey, hang on a second. I gotta just hang on.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fun. That's funny. So you are in Pretoria,
Yes.
which I haven't spent a lot of time. I've been mostly in Joburg.
But this is my hometown.
This is.
Yes, I'm from Limpopo.
You're from Limpopo.
My village, I'm from a village.
Yep.
It's 45 minutes drive from
Okay. Which one? We passed it.
No, we didn't pass
That's
it.
the other way.
It's the
It's
other way.
further north. Okay. So
Yes.
then, from that experience, it's tough. So it's like the scene already is small, pretty small in South Africa. There's I don't know. People have been telling me there's probably 100 comedians who are making a full-time living as comedians in South Africa. And there's people that are doing other stuff and doing other jobs. But it seems like there is this ability to intermingle with everyone from the top to the bottom in South Africa, which in New York you don't get that. So like a guy who's on TV in New York and that people know is not coming to the same open mic as the guy who started yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. So you guys have this interesting ability to do these things. So I guess the question that I'm leaning towards is how, if you're from a village where there's probably not a lot of comedy shows, how do you see comedy, decide that that's what you want to do, and then devote your life to it? Because even where I come from, if you live in Syracuse, which is a relatively big city, it's just hard to even start in comedy because there's no opportunities. So
There's not even a single comedian.
yeah,
I think I'm the only comedian in my village.
Yeah.
Okay, there's this boy who is trying out.
but it's because he saw you.
I think so.
Yeah,
But basically, where I come from, being a comedian is like, are you a clown?
a clown. I'll tell you what.
Can't you do something better with your life?
No. That's everywhere. I live in New York City 12 years, and people still say that to people
When
in
are
my
you getting
family.
A real job?
Right. Yes. It's time. You're in your mid 30s. It's time now. You know what I mean? It's like that's everywhere. That's how
Like
comedians are viewed everywhere.
You played enough. Can't you just
Right.
settle down, get a job?
Yeah.
and
Like
manage
it was
your
like
life?
it was like your slutty years in college. They're like, look, it's fine. Look, you banged everybody in college. Now you have to settle down, and that's how they view comedy everywhere.
But for me, I think I was lucky enough that my parents were able to afford good schools for me.
Yeah.
So I went to boarding schools my whole life.
Yeah.
So that's when I got to meet different people from different places, and I got to interact with people. On now, when I look back, especially my primary school days, I'm starting to see that's when I started comedy,
Yeah.
because we're in boarding school, and at night we would get bored, and I would just tell stories
Yeah.
and things like that. But it's something that I wouldn't have done if I hadn't gone to a boarding school.
Right.
I wouldn't have done that at home.
Yeah, and it just opens your whole experience. My first experience where it kind of clicked that it was like more than just a local thing, because I felt funny in high school and whatnot. But you go to college and you meet people from everywhere, and then you realize that whatever this thing is works for everyone, and then it becomes more tangible, more realistic. So that's interesting. And cause yeah, it's people. I start to get this thing now because people try to figure out. People don't understand comedians, so people try to ask you. They're like, "How long have you been a comedian?" And you give them the answer, but you're like, "My whole life,
Yes.
since I was a child."
Sometimes I just use my first paycheck.
Yeah.
Then I say, okay, I started in
Right.
2014, no, 2015.
So the first time I got paid, but but it's been
I've been a
forever.
comedian my whole life.
I've been doing comedy for free for so many years.
For a long time. Since I was born.
Do you know how much money those people should have paid for those shows? You know how much money I'm owed right now?
A lot.
So funny. So then I guess once you decided that you wanted comedy, your first move then was what? To Pretoria, to Joburg, to Cape Town? What's the route?
You know what happened, ne? After matric, I went to varsity, and I worked at the campus radio station.
Yeah, and so where was university?
In Pretoria.
Okay.
Soshanguve, in the township.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was working there as a presenter at the radio station. And
This you call it. We call it a DJ. You're on the air.
yes.
Okay.
DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking blah blah blah, blah, celebrity blah blah, shit like that. And then one day, this friend of mine who was also a DJ.
Yeah.
Interviewed a comedian. And he told me that the comedian gave him a free DVD.
Oh wow.
Yes, and then the DVD was in a language he couldn't understand. So
Oh wow.
it was in my language. And he gave me to watch. And I watched it. And some of the acts, I was feeling like, you know what, I can do much better than
Yeah,
this.
interesting.
I can do so much better than this.
So that's why we're not mentioning who the comedian is, because.
I know, that's not So then this one time a friend of mine bought me tickets. A ticket, to a comedy show.
Yeah, and you had never been.
No, never.
And so what? You're what? 20 years old at this point?
I was 26.
26. You'd never been to a comedy show.
Never. I didn't know there was stand-up comedy until I saw that DVD.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a comedian when I was growing up, but I wanted to act in a sitcom.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that
There was this other thing.
It's possible to do your own jokes.
Yeah.
I thought you can just be on TV and be a clown. Okay. So
it's funny, he's just a clown.
Because some of the sitcoms are not funny, and people like
well,
weird.
because our role, a comedian's role in a sitcom, is to just stick your head in, go blah blah blah, and then go back out, and you get to laugh, and then he's gone again. He's not even like a serious character in the show. He just comes in, does a little motion, a little dance, and then leaves.
I'm dreaming of a comedy world on TV.
Yeah.
Where, especially in my country, I don't know about your sitcoms, but I think judging from what we used to watch when we were growing up, like Martin and Raven. That's so Raven.
That's so funny. And that's a 20-year gap between those two shows. That's funny.
They were funny. They were hilarious. Even if I watch them now, they're still funny. I'm not trying to look down on what my people are trying to do in terms of sitcoms, but I just feel maybe as time goes, because this comedy thing is still very new to us, so maybe as time goes we can have sitcoms where people are not characterized to be funny based on how they are. Like you cannot have a comedy scene that's supposed to be funny whereby this ugly woman is in a beauty contest.
Right. That sounds like what's funny is that sounds like an amazing episode. But so that's the thing we're talking about. That's what sitcoms were in the 80s and 90s and in the US. And so what happens is it's still kind of that format. And so people have moved away from wanting to watch sitcoms for that reason, is because it's a silly
Yes, that silliness.
stereotypical,
Thank
and they have to strip
you.
it down to this one thing. So it's like this
Uh-uh.
character only says these 9 things, but that's what that's the genre that was invented in sitcoms.
But can't we have me? You know, I'm just sick of comedy scenes or something that's supposed to be funny, whereby they take a woman my size and try to make her run a marathon,
Right.
and that's funny. Can't you have me being a CEO of a company
Right. Yeah.
and not a maid,
Right.
or not somebody who's gonna try compete in a marathon or a swimming costume
Right.
parade?
But
Can't we have intelligent? I'm trying to think if we can have intelligent sitcoms.
yeah, I don't. And the
One
thing
would be
is, I
nice.
think the limitation of a sitcom makes it so that you can't. Like even just you saying that reminds me of like I Love Lucy. Lucille Ball, that was one of our biggest shows in I don't even know when it was, probably the 40s or 50s. And the dynamic of the show was her husband would go and work, and then she would get into all of these things. She was just a silly woman, and she would get into all this silly women stuff where, so she'd have to work one episode, and they got her stomping on grapes, and all this ridiculous stuff. So I just think the format of sitcom is limiting, and there's no other way to take it. So it's better to just have a show that's funny that's not a sitcom, because otherwise it's this thing.
Then that's where we come in as
Yeah.
stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
But then, in a way, I sometimes worry. Okay, let me just say, if a young person comes to me and says, "I want to be a comedian, can you please advise me?"
Yeah.
The first thing I say to them, with my little experience and knowledge that I have of comedy, is that be as real as possible,
Yeah.
yet funny.
Yeah.
Don't try to act funny.
Right.
You can't wear yellow socks and orange
Yeah.
trousers.
We say this when there's guys like this that do this thing. We say that's like you're putting on like a costume.
Exactly. Don't be a clown.
Yeah.
Don't be a clown. Be a comedian. People who go to comedy shows are CEOs. They are educated.
Yeah.
Some are varsity students.
Yeah.
So you cannot go there and be grade 1 funny on them.
And what I find over the years is the comedians that even if they take like a very thin line on what their approach is and what they believe, the couple people in the crowd that believe what they believe, they're touched and they're moved by that conversation. So then I'll talk to them after the show and they're like, I totally believe in what you were saying.
Thank you.
And so it's like it's like even if you find a sliver of humanity, it's the relatability that matters.
The relatability.
That's
I'll
the
say
whole
it in
thing
American accent. Relatability. People need to relate.
Well, universal truth is what all comedians are striving for. Is that, and that's why I'm here. Was I wanted to find out if what I'm talking about in the U.S.
It's the same thing.
is funny everywhere, and is it real? Is it really happening in the world? And
so you cannot come here and tell us about chickens crossing roads. We are not about that life.
right.
People are dying out there.
Yeah.
And you are here telling us about chickens
Right.
crossing roads.
Right.
Save
Right.
a life.
Yeah. And it really is that, especially now, especially the week that I'm here, that they're writing up comedians in my country that we think are the best comedians on earth, and they're telling them that they can't say certain things. This is the perfect time for comedy to be important worldwide, and to say that we absolutely can say those things because they're true, and it's our job, it's our obligation.
They are part of us. I have the joke that I started with. It's just that I was doing the comedy in my home language.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I don't speak your home language, but
I talk about circumcision.
I heard the circumcision, but watching the structure of what you're doing and the beats of it was very interesting for me. And you can tell even if you don't speak your language, you can tell that you're very skilled, and people when you were on stage were like moving closer and closer because they were hanging on every word.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, where I come from, as I said, is a village.
Yeah.
So there are certain topics that are taboo. You can't talk about.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about circumcision as a woman.
Interesting.
Yes. But then my argument is the stats, according to the stats from Department of Health,
Yeah.
they say cervical cancer is caused, amongst other things, by sleeping with a man who's not circumcised.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's even an advert on TV that says that. So, if I'm the one with a cervix,
Yeah.
you are the one who's not circumcised,
Yeah.
and I'm the one who gets the cancer.
We need to have this discussion.
Exactly. We need
Yeah.
to talk about these
Yeah.
things. Do you know how many women die in a year due to cervical cancer?
Right.
And then I must not say anything about it.
Right.
I must just act like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm the one with the vagina here.
Yeah.
So you're the one who comes with your happy socks.
Happy socks.
So then, at first when I started making the joke, people were like,
They're
she's
like,
talking
you can't
about-"
say that. Yeah.
But then I just went.
Go right through that. Yeah. Punch through the
Until-
wall.
This one time, a married man, he was wearing a wedding ring. He came to me after the show and said, you know what? After what you said tonight about circumcision, I feel ashamed of myself.
Wow.
And I said, that was not my intention.
Yeah.
He said, tomorrow.
No.
Yes, I'm going to.
I'm going to go in?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you get a follow-up? Do you know if he went?
I don't know, but I believed him.
He sent you a little piece of mail, and in the envelope was the...
I actually wanted him to send me a picture to prove that.
Wow. That's an interesting one. Most women don't want an unsolicited dick pic, but this would be a fun one. We're like, look, we got to prove that you did this situation.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think that's what comedy's always been about is finding the line, and then just starting to tiptoe past it. And as far as they'll let us go, you keep going, and you just keep. And
As
it's
long
like,
as you just add a little sprinkle of sugar
yeah,
on it
yeah,
to make it sweet,
yeah,
but you know that inside it's a bitter pill.
yeah, yeah. And that's, I mean, every society throughout this entire earth, all the time, whenever there's people together, there's always been someone trying to tell us what we can and cannot say. And comedy's job is to go, we can say that.
Or if you can't say it, I'll say it for you.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I really think that's what this scene is about, and the idea that because comedy's only 24, 25 years old, it's the first like real freedom where you just it's almost like it's the equivalent of just like tearing off your shirt and yelling. You know what I mean? Like that's what comedy is, and that's why as an art form it's so important. Is because it's the first time we can say all the things that we've been feeling for so long and haven't been able to say. Which is why everybody here is so fanatical about comedy. Like, I haven't met a lazy comedian in South Africa. Everybody is.
But there are lazy comedians in South Africa.
I'm sure there are, but there. Everyone has that underlying appreciation and love for comedy that I share, and it's just great to see. And then the other thing is, the thing that I found out, as an American comedian, we take everything for granted, so we just kind of play the American scene. But I came here thinking that this was just like one chunk of the world, and that it's this enclosed thing. But the comedians that I meet here, they play. I mean, to play here is then to play Canada, then to play, I guess, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, like all of these other places. Just so it's like my tiny little view of what I thought coming here would be, and I'm like, okay, well now I have this little pinpoint, America, South Africa, and then I go do those. No, like this, you guys are a world circuit, and it's super impressive.
We are world class.
Well, that's true too. So what else? We have to start hustling back to Pretoria. You have a show tonight.
I don't have a show tonight, but I think I'm gonna go to a comedy show.
Yeah.
Just
be in this in the circuit. What? How can everyone follow you? What do you have? Like, what are your Twitter, Instagram?
Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
No, tell them what your handle is. What's your? It's @
Noko NOKO _ MOST. That's my Twitter. and Instagram at Noko Most. Noko underscore MOST. Noko Most.
And we have some fun photos and some fun videos from this trip that I put up. I have to send them to you. The ones that
Please
went
do.
out.
Please do.
We had a fun little time, and it really is. I don't know why. Comedy is a universal language, but then comedian is a separate universal language, right? Like we got in the car with Jazz Buddha, and everything just clicked, like just so fast. We know what the goal is. We know that we're gonna travel massive distances. Like comedians will travel. I mean, I traveled, what is this, 8,000 miles, just because I know that when I land, there's a show there. And we did it yesterday. We got in the car. I got in the car with strangers. Drove here. It was funny because and this is what I love, and this is when I found out how great he was, Jazz Buddha, and you guys need to follow him as well. I'm gonna try to get him on an episode of this. But I went up and I did the stuff, whatever, and the whole time we were in the car, I was asking him dumb American questions. I was like, Springbok, that's your deer. Like, this is how we handle it. This is the same way, and it's just these little things because sometimes it's different, and so he goes on stage after I get off stage, and the parody that he made of that car trip with me and him just interacting and asking all these terribly dumb American questions
you taking pictures
was so
of
wild.
everything.
Yeah. He's like,
African
yeah.
sun.
He's like, wait, stop the car and take the picture. It was fantastic. He's super funny, and it's just that thing. And as comedians, we don't. I don't know. I was talking about this with somebody else about how Jerry Seinfeld, when he's on his show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, when a comedian says something that isn't true, that's like about him that he understands is funny, we just agree. So it's like, he's making fun of me, and I'm sitting in the crowd, so all the audience is like turning around and like checking my reaction, and I'm just like,
Yeah, it's true.
just
For the sake of the joke.
right.
And this show,
And it makes it so much better, and that's what I think. Also, comedians are so much. We have such a tougher skin. Nothing like, especially in a world in the U.S. now where everybody's offended by everything, and Dave Chappelle said it. Brittle. People are getting brittle, and comedians you could stab us, and it doesn't even break our skin.
No, it doesn't. We don't care.
We don't care.
Whatever. It doesn't change the price of bananas. So, whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody says some seriously rude things to you, and you're like, when am I performing again? When somebody says rude things to you.
When they say rude things to you. Yeah.
And in your mind, you're thinking about the next gig.
Yeah.
Like,
that's all that matters.
You don't care. I really don't care. But I know when I tell you rude things.
Now it somehow it matters more, yeah.
Ask my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Yes.
He vowed to hunt me down. And
yes, you said this. You said yesterday that he promised, and I wasn't sure. I was like, promise. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Yeah.
In South Africa to promise to beat somebody.
It's a bad thing everywhere to promise to do that. It's just a weird thing to vow or to promise. That is a weird thing to say.
So that is the difference between us and them. And I always say that the last thing you want to do is to get in an argument with a comedian.
Yeah.
If I can make people laugh, I'm telling you, I can make them cry.
Yeah. Well, this is what I find fun. And it's that same thing. It's that agreement thing. So I've been in car rides with comedians where I realized we start getting to these arguments, and then I realize like comedians will argue for argue's sake. Like we'll argue the side we don't even believe in. If you're on this side and I agree with you, that's not fun. So we just disagree with you to have the argument.
Exactly.
And we have the skill. We can dribble with both hands. And a lot of comedy is that. We even if we believe this thing, if we know the audience believes the other thing, we'll start heading down the road with them so that we can switch it in the end. Or if they believe this one thing, then we'll go the other way just so we can switch it in the end. It's there's something about us that we look for that. It's because it's looking for that little. It's looking for that moment of like doubt, and then proving them wrong, is what comedy is.
Yep.
So I appreciate you being on the podcast. Check her out, Noko _most.
Yes.
on all of the things. From what I found is, and it is a childish form of social media, Snapchat. But we love Snapchat in the U.S. and
Really?
you guys don't love it here. So it's
No.
Instagram, it's
Does it
Facebook,
not?
and it's Twitter.
It doesn't chow a lot of data.
I don't know why I love it so much. I really do.
Is it not expensive?
Snapchat?
Like Instagram. Instagram, we use it when we are very happy
Yeah, yeah.
because it eats your data.
Oh, it definitely eats your data. Yeah, and because we're just handing out data in the U.S. It's just
Really?
wherever you go, it's data. Yeah, there's been times where I'm on this trip and I'm trying to use my American phone, and I'll go to some place and they give you the free data, and it says free data for 8 hours, and then I'll be on for 15 minutes, and because you find out that it's only 500 megabytes, and all I did was open up Snapchat. So it is very expensive for data. Yeah, because I opened up Snapchat and I just posted 3 videos and I pulled up other people's videos, and then the data's gone.
I'm gonna try it.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why nobody likes the
But the thing is,
Snapchat.
data is very expensive in
Yeah.
South Africa, and we don't get it for free like you guys.
Yeah. Well, we pay a lot for it, but we've decided that that's what our life is.
do. Okay.
So I pay a lot of money for my phone, but if I don't have my phone, I don't everywhere is just I'm on the map, I'm on the thing. There's no time it's not part of what I'm gonna do. I'm like, oh, I gotta eat. Where am I gonna eat? It's everything.
I do too. I spend, I think maybe around 500 rands a month on
Yeah,
data.
yeah. So I spend what do I spend? I spend 3 times that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
can't. I've got two
because
kids to
I've
feed.
made it a priority in my life. I've decided that that's one
That's
of the
your
most
life.
that's one of the most important things. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's not, and that's also what's great about coming to a new place and not having that opportunity. So the first 5 days, I didn't have anything, but then part of me felt like I just felt like I was so isolated. I felt so cut off from the world because I didn't know how to go 10 miles in any of the directions because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen if I do that. So I stayed in a 1 kilometer radius just to be safe.
Shit, man.
And I remember because I did the first time I went overseas, I went to London, and I didn't have a phone at all the whole trip.
You
And
know,
I explored that whole city.
it's funny when you say you went overseas.
Yeah.
You were overseas and you went overseas.
Well, I am overseas, but then I
Even
went.
now you are overseas.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so in my mind, I'm thinking overseas is there. So once you're there, you can't go any overseas. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So how can a person overseas go overseas? Like
Yeah,
you are
that's funny.
overseas
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Why are you going?
Well, when I come
overseas?
back, it's overseas.
So we are also overseas.
This is overseas right now, yeah.
Friend, we are overseas. Did you know?
Well, you're not overseas for you. Overseas is a
But for
relative term.
them, we are
Yeah.
overseas.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
this is overseas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, overseas is I mean, use the word. I mean, it's literally whenever you cross a giant ocean is the next. Even if I go from the U.S., I guess maybe in my head I won't. If I went from the U.S. California to the U.S. Hawaii, I don't think I'm overseas. But if I go just the next island, which is Japan, then I'm overseas.
Sure. Wow, that's interesting. I need to go
Well, we
there.
don't use English properly. That's the one thing. There's someone in my head now that speaks
Can I
English
take-
properly. Yeah. There's someone in my head that speaks English properly because you guys in South Africa speak proper English. So I've been texting people in proper English this whole trip because it's just in my brain now. It sounds better. So I told a friend of mine to watch a movie. And normally you just go watch the movie and tell me what you think. But instead I said you must tell me how it was, which is proper English, but not a normal way to speak in the U.S.
We don't care. Even here, we don't care about speaking proper English.
Well, here's what I found. Well, you do speak proper English, but also everyone, because there's 19 official languages of South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is seamlessly, everyone in this country speaks English in the same sentence that they're speaking Afrikaans, in the same sense they're speaking Zulu, in the same sense that they're speaking your language. They just go across the board and they just pick and choose whatever words they want. And it's like this beautiful dance all day long of multiple languages. Even on stage, you go on and multiple languages were spoken last night on stage, and it's wild and it's beautiful.
Thank you.
If in America, if you even just like use like a French word
Mm-hmm.
that's like a commonplace word, you have to now explain. You have to stop the show, explain it to the crowd.
Mm.
It's
No, but here we have 11
it's
official
beautiful.
languages, and most of the languages sound almost the same.
Yeah.
So there's not like a lot of difference between the languages, and even on TV, you
Yeah.
get exposed to different languages.
Yeah, I was trying to
Also-
watch Soweto TV last night,
Mhm.
and she started off and she was talking about something, and then halfway through she's speaking, and I was lost, and then I hung in there, and she's speaking English, and it was like,
Yeah, so it's easy for us to learn other South African languages.
yeah.
Mm.
So it's almost like the 11 languages crammed together is one language,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
is interesting.
Mm.
It's a crazy world we live in.
But it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Well, look, I wanted to thank the what is this? The Meropa Casino.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the casino, the Sun Casino Meropa,
Mm-hmm.
here in
Polokwane.
Polokwane,
Mm-hmm.
in the
Limpopo.
Limpopo province of South Africa. They gave us permission to film and do the episode here. They also treated us wonderfully this morning at breakfast, last night with the rooms, which are very romantic rooms. I got to stay in a romantic room with Jazz Buddha. There's no door for the bath for the toilet, and and the shower was see through, and the beds were pushed together. So I got to the room, and I don't know Jazz Buddha, so I got to the room and I pulled the beds apart
Why?
because
Don't you trust yourself?
I don't know. I trust myself, sure, but I don't know, and I didn't want to make him uncomfortable. But it's weird. It's two twin beds pushed together. Even if it was my girl, I would pull them apart because it's like you're gonna fall through the crack, you know. You're gonna feel like it's fine. You roll over, then you're in the crack. But if there's edges of the bed, you know you're not gonna fall off. I don't know why that is, but awesome show, awesome casino. Everything was good. They let me have 9 coffees since I've been here, which is my favorite thing.
Really?
They always look at me weird when I go back for the second coffee, but
Shoot, like, wow.
part of life. Thank you to Noko for doing this. Follow her, Noko_most. If you're listening to the podcast, we're on Google Play, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, a bunch of other apps. Whatever thing you found us on, we're on the other thing as well. We have some YouTube content from today. It's very fun, so check that out as well. We'll have it on the Facebook and all the other things. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to Noko. Thank you to South Africa and the comedy scene. Guys, seriously, check it out. Check out everything that's going on in South Africa. I think it's some of the best comedy happening in the world, and it's evidenced by, on this trip, people that I've met have become basically famous. So do your research and check out South Africa, and come. It's beautiful. Thank you, Noko.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you for trusting me.
to not murder me.
You know?
But there's no more gigs, so you could just do it on the way home.
Exactly. But the problem is that we already told people that we are with you.
Yeah, I posted.
So if you disappear, we are going to be...
I don't have your level of fame, though, so if I disappear, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to care.
What about people you owe money?
Yeah,
People look for
I don't
you.
know anybody. I don't know anybody money.
You don't
No.
owe anybody
No,
money?
the only person who is missing me right now pretty much is my dog. So until she
You
gets
don't
her
know
own
what a person-
until she gets her own Instagram account, then it doesn't matter. Here's what's wrong with comedians in New York is every time I go and play a show, I'll be gone for a month and then I'll come back and then they'll be like, "Oh, did you move to Missouri?" So people aren't even going to be looking for me to come back. They're just going to go, "Oh yeah, Dan moved to South Africa."
So visiting is moving.
If you're gone for like more than 10 days,
So you're
that's how fast New York is. If you're not at the shows every week, they're just like, "Oh, he quit comedy or he moved to Missouri."
So
That's
tell me, I wanted to ask about the comedy scene.
Yeah.
Outside. How many clubs do you have in one city?
in New York City, there are it's tough. So the clubs, right? So if we create the standard is like the Goliath Comedy Club, there's 5 of those in New York City.
And then do they?
And then underneath that, there's there's these other like sort of part-time clubs that bars let us run shows at, and if it's the weekend, then we run a lot of shows. So the Goliath Club, that thing, that is a Monday or a Sunday through. That's a 7-day club.
Wow.
So, and then the thing that Goliath does, which is weekends, then we have probably another 10 of those that we just run on the weekends. And then below that, there's another 20 things that are just one-night shows. Some of them pay, some of them don't. So in New York, with the right connections and the right resume, you can do easily 12 spots in a night if you really hustle and you go
Ew.
back forth, back forth, back forth.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, or it's no money. It could be either. It could just be like a lot of cabbing around and for nothing. But if you're in with the Comedy Cellar, which now has 4 rooms, you can just zigzag back and forth and do 10 spots in a night.
But do they pay like this more or less the same as what?
It's
South
pretty
African-
close. It's pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know what I made at the comedy club. I don't. You know, it sounds like you're on a completely different plane of, because you were talking about some of the private gigs and some of the money that you get, and you'll only do it for this. So I think you're above that plane of what it is. So,
I'm talking about club gigs.
but club money is about the same.
Mm.
Once you adjust for conversion and everything, it's about the same.
But if you get that, and you maybe do 5 or 6
Yeah.
clubs a night,
Yeah.
every single night
Yeah.
of your life,
Oh yeah.
then that's money.
You're doing fine, yeah. But then in New York City, the problem with New York City is however much money you make at every level, even if you only make $20,000, if you make $100,000, for some reason in New York City, you will find a way to spend all of your dollars. New York City makes you spend every dollar that you make. There's like there's no savings accounts in New York City. You use it all because you look at your life and you go, well, I can afford that, so I do that, and then no money, just a bunch of people walking around who make a lot of money and you spend all of it. It's
Sounds
incredible.
demonic.
It's a good way to put it.
So, but do you get private gigs? Maybe weddings?
There's something about this is that was what was interesting to me is I've asked my friends to be able to MC their weddings, and it's not a normal thing. So comedians do not play weddings in the U.S.
Seriously?
I'm sure it happens, but it's not a normal thing.
And what about in companies when they have
Corporate stuff,
functions?
corporate stuff. But it's a much thinner pack for corporate stuff. It seems like a lot of these guys here, they're getting to do corporate stuff and it's good money, but it's a thinner pack. So to be a corporate comedian in the U.S., you almost can't go on Saturday night and talk about circumcision, because if you did that Saturday night, then they think that you can't do the clean stuff. You can't do the corporate stuff, which is suit and tie. Don't talk about sex. Don't talk about those things. You have to keep it very, very clean for the corporate stuff. So if you even do the not clean stuff any day, then they just go, oh, well, he doesn't do the clean stuff.
Sounds hectic. So it means a lot of comedians, they survive on doing their shows in theaters?
Well, a lot of comedians in the U.S. basically survive on, they just pick the thing, right? So they'll do just the clubs, or they'll do just the road, or they'll do just the corporate, or they'll do just the cruises. It's very hard to be in all 4 things, or however many there are. It's hard because there's so many people, and you have to distinguish yourself. You have to go, this is the thing I do, and that's kind of how it works. Well, we've said goodbye multiple times in this podcast.
Yes.
Thank you to the listeners. We do have to get back. Please check out South Africa comedy. Please check out Noko.
gosh, I missed the call.
She's very great, and thank you for being here.
And this is one of my agents. Let me call her
So
up.
just even in this conversation, just calling for more work.
I think it's a corporate gig, you know?
The one we're talking about, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you call them, say goodbye to the people, and we'll sign off.
Money.
Money is calling.